5 number summary. This is your box plot, or in other words, your box and whisker plot. So we're going to revisit the data that we had with Mr. Coelty and Ms. Zaffron, and we're going to find the 5 number summary. A lot of times finding just the central tendency or just the spread, as we're going to learn about later, is not enough data, and the most accurate way in whole to represent data is a box and whisker plot, because it takes into consideration the central tendencies as well as the range. And so you can have a quick overview of the data that you've been given in a very visual way, but also it tells a story because it tells about the relationships between all of the different pieces that all have their own part to play in this story. So your 5 number summary consists of the minimum, your quarter 1, your median, which is also your quarter 2, quadrant 3, and then your maximum. Those are your 5 number summary numbers. Those are the 5 numbers when we're talking about the 5 number summary. So if we were to revisit Mr. Coelty and Ms. Zaffron, we're going to find these 5 numbers. Mr. Coelty had a number spread. Let's pull it out so you can look at it real quick. Right here. So Mr. Coelty was between 60, 65, 70, 75, 80. I want you to put all of this into a table, including Ms. Zaffron's. If you want to go over to your calculator, if you hit doc, insert, and you want to do a second page, now you have 2 pages that you can toggle back and forth between if I wanted to do Coelty's on one and Zaffron's on the other. I'm going to go back and delete. And I'm going to put Zaffron's data in the other guy. And with both of them, I'm going to get my number summaries. So again, menu, statistics, stat calculations, one variable statistics. This is all going to be A, frequency 1, we'll put it into B. And we're going to do that with both of our tabs. All right, so finding then this number summary, your minimum is listed. So this is Coelty's information. This first list is Coelty's. Yes. So his minimum is 60. Quadrant 1 is 62.5. The median is 70. The quadrant 3 is 77.5. And then the maximum is 80. So that 5 number summary is listed already right there, like they know that you want it. Same with Mrs. Zaffron's information. 45, 50, 70, 90, 95. So this 5 number summary tells us a lot about the data and the relationship of a lot of things, central tendency, spread, all of that, but we also put it into a visual representation, which is your box and whisker plot. We do need to have an axis for your box and whisker plot. It is only an x-axis. The numbers that I want to represent on this axis are these ones, and I do need to have like a unit of measurement ticked out here like we normally do for any graph. So I know that my lowest number is 45 and my largest one is 95. So if I maybe do 40, I think if I do 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. then that will represent all of these numbers. I'm going up by 5s, but I just skipped every 2 to go up by 10. Okay, so first what I want to do when I'm building my box and whisker plot is I just want to put lines where the quadrants where all of these 5 numbers occur. I'll show you what I mean. I'm first going to build a y-axis and just have this guy be Coelty, and then I'll have this guy be Zaffron. So I'm going to have box and whisker plot one on top of the other. So I'm drawing 2. So with Coelty, I know that my minimum is at 60. So I'm going to go to 60 and just put a line, like I'm about to draw a box. Okay. And then my maximum is 80. I'm going to put another line about, trying this idea of a box. 70, another line. 62.5, which is halfway between 60 and 65. I'll put a box or a line. And then 77.5 is halfway between 75 and 80. So I'm going to put that there. How you put this together is you take the 3 inner lines and you make a box. And it looks something like that. And then you take the 2 outer lines and you connect them to look like this. The idea with these guys, and remember when we broke things down into quadrants earlier, is that it's separating your data into 25%. 25% of your data lives here. You could write that down. 25% of your data lives here. 25% of your data lives here, and 25% of your data lives here. So if you have a really, really long section of your box and whisker plot, that means that there's not a lot of points of data there. It means that it has a large range for that point of data, right? So that's what all of this represents. So let me re-explain. If we were to go to Zaffron, her minimum is at 45, her maximum is at 95. The median is still at 70. And that's what that box and whisker plot looks like for Miss Zaffron. So this is 25% of the data, and this is 25% of the data, which means that this is a very small range because there's only one number that lives there, right? And there's only one number that lives in this range as well, and that's 50. But it's a much larger range of data to have. So that's just kind of where it looks like. This one's really hard because we don't have a lot of numbers to go off of. So you're making a 5-number summary off of 5 numbers that you were given. So I just want you to start thinking about the fact that the larger the box section is, it doesn't mean that there's more data there. It just means that the range of data for that amount has been spread out really far, which means that actually 25% of your data is now spread in a much larger range, which means it's not very concise or not very centralized in the data. Whereas this is very centralized in the data. Going back to your previous stage, looking at Ms. Zaffron and Mr. Coelty, right? It's this idea. I could build it right now using these lines. That's what it means. It's very centralized. Whereas here, it's very spread out. All right. So let's go on and practice this. We have a lot of data, and you need to input all of this data into your calculator. I hear you guys have complained that, not complained, but you've let me know that it just takes time. It takes a lot of time. So I trust that you know how to enter this data. You need to input all of these points. It is 80 points into your calculator and build a table, and then use that table to find the 5-number summary plot. So you would put it all in and then go through this process, and then these 5 numbers would pop out and it would be different. We will today, for this, I will just give it to you because I think you understand now how to input data. So I will just give you what the 5-number summary plot is. If you would like to practice inputting data and think that you still need practice on putting it into a list, you can do that, but you don't have to. Okay, so if you put all of this into your calculator, you will get a minimum of 38. Quadrant 1 will be at 50.5. Your median is 55. Quadrant 3 is 61. and then your maximum is 68. So we've taken our raw data and we've grouped it now in a different way to group data. Now we're going to use this and draw a box plot, or a box and whisker plot. So first we need to build our x-axis and have some sort of scale. We go from 38 to 68, which is a measurement of 30, right? It's a range of 30. So I'm going to go from 30 to 70 to try and like incorporate all of those numbers. I'm just going to start doing a distance apart and then see how I need to break it down. So there's really no rhyme or reason to the distance that I chose. I just chose a distance and then now I'm trying to copy that distance. So if this is 30, /40, 50, 60, 70. I'm going to try and go up to 20 tick marks. So I think that means I can do 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. So I've created my unit of measurement. I kind of just picked a random size. I said, oh, well, if I go by 5s, it's actually really small. So I think I can actually go by 2s. I just need to extend my line a little bit. I measured out that, hey, it's going by units of 2, but I'm not going to spend all the time to measure it. I can just from then on say it continues, and here's your 50, 60, 70. Now I need to go and put in lines for all of these occur. So at 38, I need to put a line. At 68, I need to put a line. At 55, 2, 4, 55, I need to put a line. At 50.5, I need to put a line. 51 would be here, so then halfway between 50 and 51, 50.5, and then 61, put a line. Create a box from my inner quartile range. This is quartile 1 to quartile 3. So this is your inner quartile range, whereas from your minimum to your maximum is your full range. So finding those numbers from up above means that that's that information. And quartile 2 is your median. It's the same. Okay, so notice that we've got a really, really long stretch here. 25% of your data, you have 80 students. 25% of that is 20 students. So 20 students lie within this data. 20 students lie within this data. 20 students, 20 students. So it doesn't necessarily tell you how many students, it does tell you. It tells you exactly 25% lies here. But then more what this size tells you is like that's the range that we're dealing with for that information. So we've got a really condensed or really dense amount of students within this range. We've got a lot of students between these numbers and a lot of students between these numbers. Your inner quartile range represents 50% of your central data. It takes your median and your two 25% on either side, and together those 25% represent 50% of your data. So half of your data lies in here, and these ones are outside of that. The idea here is that you might be looking at some outliers, and outliers might skew that data, whereas your inner quartile range neglects the outliers and really focuses on the central tendency of the data. Okay,